You'll have to excuse my sweatiness. I just got done watching Cops. So, this video might be a little bit different than the other, should I buy this, blah, 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 episode, whatever. I could make up a lot of excuses, but the main excuse is I haven't driven any cars that I'd want to showcase, at least, in the series. So, I figured I would at least give you all a video for Monday. So, this is a quick little story recap of how my Shelby GT350 got into a hit and run. Basically, my girlfriend and I went to North Little Rock. We went to Outback to visit her family. Her family doesn't live at Outback. We went there for lunch. So we spent about, I don't know, maybe an hour or so in the restaurant. And I came back outside to get something from the car. We were all leaving and going, I think we were going shooting. I'm not entirely sure. But went to the passenger side of the car to grab something. And my girlfriend, Adrian, who's kind of the cameraman in all my videos, pointed out that my car had a little mark on it. I thought, oh, okay. It was a bit dirty at the time. I didn't wash it for a couple days before then. It was the middle of summer, so there were already a ton of bugs on there. But she looked at it again and she said, your car's been hit. I thought, no, that's not going to happen. That doesn't happen. I parked in a corner spot by myself, which is marked by a little box. We got to that restaurant at around, I think it was 10:50, because they opened up at 11, and there was nobody there except for a couple people with to-go orders. So as far as I can tell, it was one of them. Anyway, Adrian pointed out that the car had been hit. I looked it over. Sure enough, it had been hit, and I looked over. There was no note or anything, that's what ticked me off the most. I've always been taught if you make a mistake, you own up to it. And I think there are few things that are worse than damaging someone else's property and then not even having the balls to say anything to them. I understand. I've been in a couple accidents. I've been at fault in one of them. I understand you make mistakes. You're not paying attention. Our day-to-day life is chaotic as is. And I get it. You're distracted. You're on your phone or something. Well, you shouldn't be on your phone while driving anyway. Side note. Anyway. So, that's the thing that ticked me off the most. I get that things happen, but at least have the courage to tell the person, like, hey, look, man, I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Here's my information. Let's figure out how to settle this. I wouldn't have sued the guy. Thankfully, no one got hurt. That's the best thing about this. The car wasn't in motion. We weren't in the vehicle. Nobody was hurt or anything like that. And for all I know, it could have been some old person that just didn't know. But at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. If you damage someone else's property, just own up to it. 9 times out of 10, if you go up to the person and say, look, I screwed up, man. I'm so sorry. What can we do to fix this? At least in my case, I would have been upset, but not mad. I'm still furious at the whole thing, mainly because I'll never know who did it. Outback didn't have cameras pointing in that direction, and the manager there was a real jerk about it. I told him, I was like, look, you have a list of all the people that came in before us, or at least ordered at a certain time. Can you please just pull up that list, see where they were parked, because there were cameras that just weren't facing my car. There were cameras everywhere else. I would imagine the only car that came from that direction in a certain period of time would have hit it. But instead, the manager's just made up a bunch of excuses. So anyway, the rest of the story goes, we called the police. They came down and filed a hit and run and that sort of stuff. But, because it's on private property, there's no further investigation into it. It didn't happen on public streets or anything like that. It was private property, so I'm screwed. The car was damaged for, I want to say 3 or 4 months. The best part about all this was about a week after the car got hit, the warehouse that stores all the bumpers and that sort of stuff, like the OEM parts, I believe that's exactly what it was. I'm probably wrong. I might fact check this, or I might be lazy or go watch more Cops. But the place that has all these OEM parts burned down, so I couldn't get any parts. The stuff that was damaged was the front bumper cover, part of the hood, and the headlight. Now, part of the hood that was damaged was the very front right above the headlight, and a little tiny, dimple right where the crease is for the right fender and the hood where it meets, right around there. That's all the damage. I think the total came out to be $4,500 or so. I've got here the police report and everything. It states that vehicle was unoccupied, northbound, vehicle was hit on the right front side. There is no information on vehicle number 2, so there will be no follow-up investigation. And I want to add something. The cop that helped us was extremely nice. You know, he probably has dealt with this situation before, and he was like, you know, there's nothing that we can do. You don't have video proof of it. You don't have any license plate or anything like this, so we can't really follow up on it. And I get that that's what they got to do. And it upset me at the time. I was like, well, this is my property. How could you not do anything about it? But looking back on it now, it's like, I get it. Anyway, moving on. This is part of the invoice. I forgot where the second page is. It just goes over a couple things. I'm going to go over a couple parts. Like I said, the grand total was about $4,500, give or take. $1,300 of that is headlight itself, which I was astonished by. Looking at some of the more expensive vehicles like an R8 or something like that, a headlight to replace it is, I think, $7,000 to $8,000, which is ridiculous as is. But you know, that's it's whatever. Insurance paid for it, thankfully. Now I'll get back to the insurance thing because that's kind of a nifty little sub story to this whole thing. So let's see, the front bumper cover was $308. Let's see, the bumper bracket was $76. Paint and materials was $260. Hazardous waste disposal was $5. Now, the fun part comes when it was time to replace the front stripes. So they replaced, because everything in the front needed to be repainted. Hood, bumper, well, actually, it was just the hood and bumper that needed to be repainted. The fenders were fine. So the stripes on it were a lot more expensive than I originally thought. I'll read you a couple. Mind you, this is only the front left side. The left and the right side are two totally different prices. You could have one on the left side that's $100. The other on the right side is $300. Yeah. Anywho, the front upper stripe on the bumper was $300. Front lower stripe on the bumper was $180. Hood was $484, and hood panel was $545. In total, the stripes were like $1,800. $1,800. Are you kidding me? For some stickers. Good God, $1,800 for stickers. I didn't have to pay for it, thankfully, but my God. Holy crap, looking back on it, I wish I would have just said, you know what, screw it, just take the rest of the stripes off. I'll either leave it stripeless, or I'll just get aftermarket ones. It's cheaper either way. I mean, my God. Yeah. Don't screw up the stripes on your Shelby if you want to replace them. It's ridiculous. It is absurd, the amount of money for stripes. Moving on. So, insurance. I don't know if you've had to deal with insurance before. I've worked at for an insurance company for a small stint of time. I disliked it greatly, to be completely honest with you. With insurance, they paid out the $4,500 for the work. Now there's this, it's not a program, I'm not entirely sure what to call it. It's called loss in value. So basically, you have a vehicle, any vehicle that is damaged, and I'm not sure the extent of this part of it. I'm still unclear if you're at fault or if someone else is at fault, if that changes things around. But I know that because I was not at fault, I'm okay to do this little program that they have. Basically, you file a report saying, you have to give in the information like the police report. You have to also provide information on vehicles that are selling that are the same year as yours and similar mileage. You have to, I printed off a thing on cars.com, like just a short list of the vehicles that were in my range, like mileage, because it's kind of hard to find a car that had, I think it was 9,000 to 10,000 miles on it at the time. This was in September of last year, so there weren't a lot of cars that had, a decent amount of mileage on them, at least that I could find for sale. So I pulled up the list, I printed it off, I sent it in to them. So then they came back and said, well, there's still not enough evidence. What you'll have to do is go find an insurance appraiser. He or she will have to appraise the vehicle, give their written appraisal to you, and then you send that into insurance, which we did. I got a good friend of mine that works in the insurance appraisal industry, thankfully. And he basically said what I knew. The car had sustained about $10,000 to $13,000 in loss in value. I'm not going to go into details, at least of right now, how much I sold the car for. I'll make another video about how much the car cost and that sort of stuff. And if you have any other questions or anything like that, please voice them. Or if you want to make a special video on certain Shelby stuff, I'm more than happy to do so. I've got a couple in mind. Continuing on to the story. So anyway, insurance, I'm still dealing with. I haven't received a call, and I turned in the insurance appraisal about a month ago. I haven't received a call, so I have to get with my insurance agent and have them call corporate to call me over this whole deal, and then we have to negotiate a price. Now, my buddy who's in the appraisal business said you'll be lucky to get 8 for it. It's extra money. I mean, I'm happy. I'm going to shoot for the whole 13. I highly, highly doubt it's going to happen. That's kind of the whole thing with insurance. If you have any questions about it, I'm happy to help you out. But it's a difficult thing to have to deal with. Insurance is probably the worst part of this whole thing. But that's the story. That's how my Shelby got involved in a hit and run. I'm sure I'm leaving something out. If I am, I'll oh well, it doesn't matter. But I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it, somewhat informative on how to maybe go about a loss in value claim. And I know there have been a couple questions about how my Shelby got into an accident, and one of the main reasons why I sold it was because of the accident and the repairs on it. That's another thing. The repair. I was very, very displeased on how the repair was. The paint didn't match. I understand that if you have to replace any sort of OEM part like that, the paint will never match. I got another good friend of mine, a gentleman I work with, who was in the body and paint industry, and he was telling me a couple things that they do, and that's like overspray, where I think, and I'm probably wrong, he'll have to correct me on this, the last coat is kind of sprayed over part of the car to match the paint, and it was not done. It wasn't done like that. I think he looked at the car before I sold it as well. But a couple other things. There's a piece of plastic where the wheel well is that connects it to the front bumper. That had been cut, and it never fit properly after that. When I got the car back, a clip on the bumper was pushed out, like they hadn't clipped it in. Underneath, there are like washers that hold the front splitter on, and the washers weren't put back in place, so they had the screws still stuck out of it. So I had him fix that before I left. The stripe was also crooked, which really, really ticked me off. I'm kind of anal about certain things, and that's one of the things that I'm most certainly obsessed about is the way my car looks. I was upset with the subpar quality of work that was done on my car. After I got it back, I started looking for an R, which I'm still doing. Don't worry, I know a lot of you want that as my next car, so I'm still trying. I'm shooting for it, but I don't think it'll happen. But I finally got tired of it, and when the deal came for the Panamera, which I will make another video about, I'll be more than happy to explain everything about why we traded in the car on the Panamera. But that's the story of the Shelby. I really hope you like this video, and there's going to be a couple more changes to the channel. I'm still trying this whole thing, and by the way, don't forget, poster. I've got like 40-something subscribers now, so thank every single one of you, by the way. That's awesome. Once it reaches 100, I'll give this away. So, like, subscribe, share. That'd be cool. Hey, do that. Share. Let's try that. And until next time, I'll see ya. Hey, one more thing before I let you go. Should I do some reviews? Like, car reviews? Even if I'm not looking into purchasing one of those cars? What do you think? Should this become a review channel? Should I vlog? If I do vlogs, we're not going to do any of that mundane stuff like taking you shopping or going to the bathroom or anything like that. That's just silly. If you think I should do either of those, let me know.